Some people are beginning to realize that there is something far beyond routine, matter, and ready-made answers. They clearly feel that there is a silent communication between reality and their consciousness. They live experiences they do not know how to explain, but that they also cannot ignore. When they try to talk about it, they are rarely understood. These experiences are not common, nor should they be. They happen to people who have gone through a kind of awakening that is invisible but powerful. A process that breaks with the illusions of the common world and activates a sensitivity that can no longer be turned off. Reality changes. Emotions change. The view of life will never be the same. If this is happening to you, understand, you are not alone. You are just more awake. And that is scary at first. Because what once seemed normal now bothers you. And what once seemed strange now makes perfect sense. This transition is silent, but intense. And it only happens to those who were called to something greater. I am George. And on this channel we talk about all of this with truth, respect, and depth. If some part of you felt that this content describes you, follow the channel now. Here you will find clarity for what seemed confusing. Because yes, there is a reason you are going through all this, and the time has come to understand it. There comes a moment when the world stops seeming random. Small things begin to connect in ways you cannot explain. You think of something and, shortly after, it happens. You ask for an answer in silence, and it appears in someone's speech, in a song, in a stray phrase. This is not a coincidence. What seems strange at first soon becomes constant. You begin to notice that everything around you is trying to talk to you. Life answers your questions. Reality sends signals. And it is not just once. It happens so many times that you can no longer ignore it. Something has changed and you know it. This feeling that something is guiding you grows inside. You do not see faces, you do not hear voices, but you feel that there is a greater intelligence by your side. It expresses itself in details, in encounters, in messages that arrive at the exact time. It is as if reality were alive, observing and interacting with you all the time. And the most curious thing is that the more attention you pay, the more it intensifies. The signs become clear. The repetitions increase. The answers come before the questions. You begin to feel that you have entered another frequency, as if before you were switched off and now everything were connected, as part of the same invisible flow. These moments bring emotion, a shiver, an inner silence, a certainty without explanation. You do not understand with the mind, but you feel it in the body. Something fits, even if you do not know what. It is as if you were returning to a place you should never have left, a place of real connection with everything. But when you try to share this with other people, you notice the abyss. They find it strange. They say it is in your head. They suggest it is coincidence or exaggeration. That hurts. Because you are not trying to seem special. You are just trying to understand something that is happening to you, and you have no one to share it with. This is where many awakened ones isolate themselves. Not by choice, but for not being understood. Talking about synchronicities, about messages that seem magical, is frightening to those who have never experienced this. You begin to realize that these experiences are not for everyone. They come to those who are already ready, even without knowing it. And the more you accept it, the more you feel that something in you is changing inside. It is not about seeing signs all the time, but about becoming someone who perceives with more sensitivity. You are no longer just living life. You are interacting with it. With attention, with presence, with a new way of listening. This openness transforms you. You begin to walk differently, speak differently, perceive everything with more depth. Simple things gain another meaning. You begin to notice patterns in everything. You begin to trust less in chance and more in the intention behind each event. It is as if everything were being orchestrated to show you something. What was once considered madness now seems to be wisdom. And reality, which used to be silent, now becomes your partner. It does not speak in words, but it talks to you all the time. And this only happens because you have changed inside. Because something in you has opened, connected, awakened. Over time, something different begins to happen. You realize that you can feel seemingly opposite things at the same time. You are sad, but you feel peace. You are confused, but you feel clarity deep down. You are tired, but you feel that you are exactly where you should be. This is scary at first because it goes against everything you were taught about logic and emotions. Before, you were trained to choose a side. It was either this or that, good or bad, light or shadow. Now, something has changed. You feel that you can live everything at the same time, without needing to split or run away. You can accept that there is beauty in chaos. You can look inside the pain and find something sacred there. This new way of feeling is not rational. It does not make sense in common logic, but it makes sense to the awakened heart. You realize that reality is not divided into right and wrong. It is complex, alive, full of layers. And you begin to inhabit these layers with more awareness without needing to flee from any of them. This is where many people think you are lost. They say that you are confused, that you need to decide. But what they do not understand is that you are not in conflict. You are whole. You can feel everything because you are more present, more open. You are dealing with things from a deeper place. This ability does not arise out of nowhere. It is born from the process of awakening, from pain, from searching, from silence, from losses. You became more sensitive, more receptive, more truthful, and now, even without knowing how to explain it, you feel that you can hold the paradox within yourself, and that changes everything in your way of living. You stop judging everything all the time. You stop chasing simple answers. You accept the mystery. You learn to observe the movement of life with less haste and more surrender. And suddenly, even what seemed wrong gains another meaning. You see the shadow as part of the path, not as an enemy. This gives you lightness. You no longer need to pretend that you are okay all the time. Nor do you need to sink when something goes wrong. You can be in process. You can be living both things at the same time. And that is okay. This is what makes you human and awakened at the same time. You begin to listen to yourself with more kindness. You stop fighting against your own feelings. You accept that you can feel everything. This does not weaken you, it strengthens you, because now, instead of avoiding what you feel, you go through it. And in going through it, you heal. And in this process, you inspire others to do the same. Suddenly, your dreams begin to feel different. They are no longer just disconnected images or senseless stories. They gain strength, details, depth. You wake up and remember them as if you had really lived that. You feel it in your body, you feel it in your soul. And as strange as it may seem, you know that it was not just a common dream. Some of these dreams are so intense that you wake up changed, not just moved, but transformed. It is as if you had visited another plane, talked to someone who is no longer here, or received an answer that your waking mind could not find. They arrive charged with something you do not know how to explain, but cannot ignore. You dream of places you have never seen, but that seem familiar, with messages that are confirmed days later, with people you do not even know yet. Sometimes you live complete dialogues with someone, and days later the same scene happens in reality. What was once dismissed as a thing of the mind now makes you question everything. These dreams do not follow logic. They do not ask permission. They arrive and impose themselves, as if they were messages from something much greater. You try to tell someone, but soon realize they cannot understand the depth of what you experienced. They say it was just a dream, but you know it was more than that. Over time, you begin to trust the signs that come from sleep. You begin to observe the symbols, the sensations, the dialogues. And the more you respect this, the more intense the dreams become. You realize that you are being guided. You are receiving guidance, not from the outside, but from within, from the deepest part of you. Some dreams prepare you, others warn you, and there are those that simply heal you. You wake up lighter, calmer, clearer. You do not need to understand everything rationally. It is enough to feel, and you feel it, as if the universe had found you during the night and left there a gift that only you can decipher. You begin to long to sleep, not to rest, but to reconnect. The dream world becomes an extension of your consciousness, a place where answers come effortlessly, where doubts dissolve, where you can be who you truly are, without masks, without fear. And each night brings a new revelation. Many around you will never understand this, and that is okay. Not everyone is ready to access this level of consciousness, but you are. And that is why these experiences are coming to you, because your soul already knows the way, and it is showing you, little by little, where it begins. One day, in the middle of an ordinary conversation, you notice yourself thinking and observing at the same time. You speak, but you also watch. It is as if there were two presences inside you, one that lives, another that observes everything in silence. And this does not disconnect you. On the contrary, it brings you more presence, more clarity. You begin to notice your own patterns in real time. You see when you are about to repeat an old attitude. You notice when you react on impulse. And more importantly, you realize that you have a choice. You can follow the same path as always, or you can change right there in the moment, without needing drama or regret. This capacity does not arise out of nowhere. It is the fruit of awakening. When your consciousness expands, you begin to see yourself with more honesty. Not from the outside as judgment, but from the inside as truth. You do not condemn yourself, you just observe. And by observing, you free yourself from the need to react automatically. It is as if you had gained a new vision, an internal camera that films your behaviors without filters. You no longer hide from yourself. You see your light, but also your shadow. And this does not destroy you. It makes you human. It brings you closer to who you really are, without masks or excuses. Over time, you realize that this awareness accompanies you all the time. In traffic, in relationships, in daily choices. You know when you are going against yourself. You know when you are betraying yourself or trying too hard to please. And you can stop, breathe, choose another path. Because now you are awake. You understand that you are not just your story. You are also the reader of that story, the observer, the author, the editor, all at the same time. And this completely changes the way you live. Things stop being automatic. They start to have intention. They start to have presence. They start to have truth. It is not always easy to see yourself with such clarity. Sometimes it hurts. Seeing your flaws, your fears, your defense mechanisms. But this pain does not come to punish you. It comes to set you free. Because only when you see can you transform. Only when you feel can you heal. And this is the true power of awakening. You stop being a victim of circumstances. You begin to choose. You begin to steer your own life with more lightness, even on difficult days. And you understand that the simple act of observing yourself, of listening to yourself, of allowing yourself to change, is already a profound form of self-love. And that changes everything. You begin to realize that nothing you lived was by chance. The pains, the losses, the encounters, even the detours, everything seems to have been part of something greater. You look back and begin to see an invisible thread connecting every moment. It is not illusion. It is consciousness. It is as if your story were part of an even larger story. Situations stop being just facts. They begin to carry messages. You feel that each challenge came to prepare you, that each fall had a purpose, and this purpose goes beyond your own life. You see yourself as part of a whole, as if the universe were telling a story through you, and each scene had value. This feeling brings depth to the present. Conversations gain more weight, encounters become portals, choices, even small ones, carry meaning. You stop running after great deeds and begin to live each moment with more presence. The question ceases to be, what do I gain from this? And becomes, what is this trying to show me? Everything begins to teach you, even the moments of silence, even the ordinary days. You begin to live with more attention, more listening, more surrender. Your life is no longer just about surviving, achieving, or pleasing. It is about aligning with what moves you inside, even when it does not make sense to others. You understand that you did not come into the world just to complete tasks. There is something in you that wants to express itself, a calling that does not disappear. It pulses, even when you try to ignore it. And the more you accept it, the more life helps you walk in the right direction. The right doors open, the right people arrive. But this does not take you away from reality. On the contrary, you begin to live with more feet on the ground, because now everything makes sense, even the things that once seemed unfair to you. You do not understand everything, but you feel that there is a reason. And this feeling brings you peace. You begin to trust more in the process of life. Other people may even call you too sensitive, too deep. But you know you are not exaggerating. You are simply seeing with more clarity. You are feeling with more truth. You are living with more presence. And that is rare. But it is real. It is what sets you apart. It is what makes you awakened. This awakening brings you closer to your essence. You stop trying to fit into the world and begin to align with what is true for you. And it is at this moment that life begins to respond with more fluidity. The doubts do not disappear, but they no longer paralyze you. You trust. You move forward. You live. When you realize you are changing, in silence, change does not arrive with fireworks. It does not shout. It does not make a fuss. It happens discreetly, often without you noticing it right away. But one day, you find yourself reacting in a different way. You see yourself calmer in the face of chaos, more whole even in the face of pain. And then you realize something has changed in you. This silent transformation does not need a stage. It does not seek validation. It simply happens from the inside out. You begin to notice that what used to shake you before now no longer has so much power over you. Criticism no longer paralyzes you. Other people's opinions no longer define who you are. You begin to choose with more awareness. You speak less, observe more. You respond with presence instead of reacting on autopilot. You notice that your energy is more selective. Not because you are isolating yourself, but because you now value what really matters. Time, connections, your peace. Everything begins to have a different value, and this may even bother those who knew you before. Some people distance themselves. They say you have changed. And it is true, you have changed. But not because you wanted to be different, simply because you awakened. You can no longer pretend that certain things are normal, nor can you pretend that everything is fine when it is not. This phase is silent but powerful. You no longer need to prove anything to anyone, nor do you need others to understand your process. Because now you feel, you know, you recognize when you are living in alignment with who you really are. And this inner truth is worth more than any external approval. Change also teaches you to be gentler with others. You begin to look with more compassion. You realize that each person is in their own time. And you understand that you do not need to convince anyone of anything. Your presence, your peace, your silence already speak for themselves. Those who need to understand will understand at the right time. This new version of you is not perfect, but it is more aware, freer, more connected with your own essence. You no longer live to impress. You live to experience, to learn, to grow, to serve what moves you. And it is on this path that you feel whole, even without having all the answers. And even if no one sees everything you are facing, you know. You know how far you have walked, how much you have faced, how much you have overcome. That is the beauty of silent change. It may not be noticed by everyone, but it transforms you in a way that no words can describe. For the awakened, the invisible becomes visible. There comes a point in awakening when you begin to notice things that previously went completely unnoticed. It is not magic, nor mediumship. It is refined sensitivity, a silent presence that allows you to see beyond the obvious. You see more than words say. You notice the pauses, you understand the silences, and you interpret looks as if they were open books. You begin to feel environments as if they were speaking to you. You enter a place and feel in your body, whether there is lightness or tension, whether there is truth or manipulation in the air. It is not always something that can be explained, but it is something that can be felt. It is as if your entire system had adjusted to capture everything that is out of tune. This perception naturally extends to people. You notice who is being genuine and who is merely playing a role, who speaks from the soul and who merely repeats rehearsed lines. It is as if something inside you recognized the real energy behind the words. And this awareness totally changes the way you relate. You are no longer easily impressed by pretty speeches. You prefer true silences. You know when someone is smiling on the outside, but broken on the inside. And the hardest part, you feel this without anyone telling you anything. Because now, you see the invisible layers of human behavior. You see the pain hidden in jokes, the insecurity disguised as arrogance. It is not judgment. It is vision, a sensitivity that goes beyond what is said. You begin to understand the patterns that repeat, the wounds that are projected, the emotional cycles that manifest in everyday attitudes. People often do not know why they act as they do, but you notice. And this is often lonely. You want to help. You want to share what you see. But you soon learn that not everyone is ready to see what you see. Not everyone wants to be seen with such depth. The truth frightens. Awareness, when it arrives before its time, causes discomfort. So you become silent, and you learn the value of listening. You begin to embrace instead of correct, to observe without needing to intervene, because you understand that each person has their time, their process, their right moment. And forcing vision into the eyes of someone who is not yet ready only generates resistance. You discover that often, true wisdom is knowing when to be silent. This silent depth becomes your ally. You learn to be present with more truth. Your gestures speak. Your gaze communicates. Your energy transmits peace. And people feel this, even without understanding why. They draw near, they open up, they calm down. It is as if, by your side, they could be who they truly are. You may not understand everything that is happening to you, but you already feel it. You feel that you are different. You feel that life has gained another density, that something has changed, that it is no longer possible to live on autopilot. This is not a coincidence. It is not an exaggeration. This is the true awakening, the one that only the chosen recognize when it happens. It is not about being special. It is about being conscious. It is about seeing beyond the surface, feeling beyond words, perceiving beyond logic. You are not making up these experiences. You are accessing a part of reality that has always been there, but that few have the courage or maturity to see. This path is not easy. Sometimes it is lonely. Sometimes it hurts. But it is also beautiful, transformative, and necessary, because each person who awakens, even in silence, helps the world to change. You may not realize it now, but your consciousness influences everything around you. Your process is an invisible service to the collective. You do not need to have all the answers. You just need to keep listening to what you feel, respecting the signs, trusting what you live inside, even if no one else understands. This is what makes you awakened. This is what makes you a channel. This is what connects you with something greater than yourself. Now tell me, which of these experiences moved you the most? Which part of your journey did you recognize here? Leave your comment below. Your sharing can strengthen someone else who is also awakening but feels alone in this process.